everybody. Welcome to the life energy update for energetically sensitives and empaths for August 25th till 31st, 2017. And I'm still in Florida using headset this time, hoping that I will not catch all these AC, air conditioning, background noises. I hope you guys are all well and survived the eclipse hype. Here in the United States, a lot was going on during this time, and as I predicted or forecasted, the energetic weather conditions were a bit iffy. Not as bad really as the week before, the 2 weeks, 3 weeks before the eclipse, and so we're just leaving this behind us now. All this is gone, but now is the time of implementation. And so a lot of us, besides feeling a bit drained, exhausted from all the hype, feel a little bit empty, directionless, exhausted. A lot of people report exhaustion, also sleep deprivation. So many of us had issues with sleeping. This has to do with the sixth chakra, the third eye impact that we are all experiencing right now. As most of you know, it's the pineal gland that sits right there where our third eye chakra is located, here between our eyes, between our ears and eyes, so to speak. And this can not only lead to headaches and temple pressures and all kinds of sort of head issues, sinuses. A lot of people had issues with sinusitis or a cold throat and so forth. So those are things that you need to know as an energetically sensitive happen quite frequently when there is a lot of bombardment from the outside going on, all right? So the best thing you can do is really to go into this place of rest and sleep well and drink lots of water. So whenever there's a lot of energetic activity, it's almost like strenuous physical activity. You have to replenish and rehydrate. So those are the best overall energy tips that I can give you for dealing with these next 2-3 weeks. Yes, and Elke, thank you for asking this. Detox, have I noticed massive detox reactions? Yes, in energy work we call this clearing. So there's a lot of clearing, and I was going to talk about this today because this is something that affects us in many different ways. Now, you can have detox reactions in the physical, which will feel like a lot of sneezing, yawning. Those are the mild versions of it, but also increased mucus, increased releasing of things in your body, all kinds of excretions. Usually that's a good sign. So when we go through a clearing, while it may not feel that good at the time, we feel much better afterwards. So I would recommend to not resist the physical clearing here, as some women are reporting increased cramping, not so much PMS, but really strong sort of maybe ovulation symptoms. So these are all things that are very common around energetic red times, red weather conditions. Emotionally, detox happens in a different way. Emotionally, detox will happen in a way that you feel very vulnerable emotionally. You may start crying for no reason, or you have increased nightmares where some of your deepest fears come forward. Anger, of course, and venting. I've talked about this in the last couple of weeks. This irritability that I talked about has a lot to do with clearing our emotional energies. But as we all know, as energetically sensitives, there's issues with emotionally detoxing without being aware what that does to other people, or what that does to us if other people do this. Then mentally detoxing is something that we have been experiencing here at transCODES with all the people that work with us in the Grace Manifestation Marathon in a very beautiful way. Mentally detoxing is a way of our mind, our thoughts going rogue and going into this like complete sort of utter stupid, no disrespect, but internally it kind of feels that way, stupid looping, all right, that shows us how all these dramas that we were experiencing kind of made up by our minds, all right? And when this happens, when our mind goes into overdrive, all right, this is when we can see this most clearly, all right? And what you need to learn from this, just like with emotional detoxing, is that you're absorbing a lot of these energies, not just your own, also other people's, but those are also your own. Spiritual detoxing can happen as well. This can lead to something what we call like a spiritual emergency, something where you feel, and this was very prevalent this last week, where you feel almost like depressed, you feel isolated, you feel completely disconnected from other people and yourself on all levels, physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. And it sort of raises the question of purpose. It raises the question of, what am I even doing here? All right. Last week I talked about oxytocin, and I did not have enough time to write a written report. I'll do this this week and show the connection cycle and how this affects our neurotransmitters and how the role that our body plays in all this. This is what a lot of people have been experiencing, and I want you to know, this is why I do these energy reports, that this is not all just yours, okay? However, by reflecting on this in this way, that I do this sort of just as a model, I go back the week, last week, and then I create something like a forecast for the next week, helps us to contextualize things, helps us to bring things into perspective, besides the fact, of course, that it can make us feel much better to know that we are not the only ones going through those kind of symptoms. So these are very typical symptoms for people who are energetically sensitive, whether you label yourself that way or not. And one of the observations that I've made is that when people go into this questioning of their relationships, of their connections, of their ability to connect within, that when we're not trained, we very often go into this sort of all or nothing, you know, black or white, you know, like the self-doubt, you know, questioning ourselves, if all the stuff that we've been working on in these years, if this ever even did anything. And it's this feeling of stagnation or not really progressing. And here, you know me, I do bring in a lot of criticism on like sort of the common mainstream spiritual practices or teachings. And that is, it's important to understand that your journey is not like a climb up of some stairs in order to arrive something. Your journey is more like a spiral. It's actually this kind of spiral, and as you can tell, every time it spirals in, you know, you're crossing the line of a different layer, of a previous layer. And so when you have this feeling of stagnation, really all this tells you is that you're touching upon a new layer of this. And one of these new layers that we touched upon, this is coming up now, so this will be very strongly coming in this weekend and for this coming week until the 31st of August, is core fears. And we won't be able to pinpoint it yet. Most people won't really go into the state of being able to say, well, I'm afraid of my money, or I'm afraid of this, I'm afraid of that. They'll just have this like really weird inner agitation of something big is happening, some kind of sense of urgency, but also the need to change something, the need to implement, to go into a new reality. And this is the overall tendency for this entire year. And the biggest mistake I think we can make is if we resist it. So these detox symptoms that I talked about here a couple minutes ago, if we don't allow them and if we resist them, if we cannot trust our inner energy to do what is best for itself and go into resistance, then we can actually experience much heavier, more severe symptoms, all the way to severe depression, severe anxiety, and suicidal thoughts. And I want you to know that, these things all belong to the range of energetic frequencies that we encounter, okay, in our normal day. We all have these energetic fluctuations. And the reason, again, here why I'm doing these energy reports is to give you a little bit of a heads up of the outer conditions, okay? So when the outer conditions are structured in a way that they promote certain things, then this can be very supportive, or it can be distractive, or actually drive us into fear, drive us into resistance. Resistance is a big one for this week, and this can feel that people have a flare-up of their chronic conditions. I talked about this last week, but also weird sensations. One of the most interesting thing that I have noticed now, having all these sensations going through myself in just a little ahead of time, is feet and ankles. Feet and ankles. Every other person I talk to is experiencing issues with feet and ankles. And what does this mean? When we have a resistance of moving forward, because, like, say, we don't know yet, we don't know the direction, we don't know where to go, then this can create all kinds of weird conditions in our apparatus, in our mobility apparatus. But this next week, I'm expecting this to be most prevalent in our feet and in our ankles. So take good care of your feet, okay? So give yourselves maybe some foot baths, even these detox baths. I don't know if anybody's ever done this. I haven't, but I know a lot of people who swear on them. But you can also use crystals. You can also use salts and herbs, for baths. Baths, the element water itself is something that's coming in really strong for this week. And to me, this usually indicates that we are dealing with a time where the feminine needs to be more embraced, the softer side, the nurturing aspect of ourselves, and of course with another. When water comes in, water can be very clearing, like all elements are: water, fire, earth, and wind. But when water comes in, it's usually one of those really core aspects that it touches upon, that have to do with our ability to make a stance here in this world, the right to be here, really understanding that our spiritual purpose or our soul purpose is not defined by anything that we do. It's defined by who we are, by who we become. And this has a lot to do with our ability to claim our sovereignty, like I talked about this last week, to claim our true self and to begin to adjust our life accordingly. So this will be one of our main concerns, besides allowing some of the detoxing and the clearing effects, is to kind of come up a little bit with a plan now. Where do you want to be in 10 years from now or 20 years from now? We're going through major shifts here as a collective. And it's really important that you understand that the alignment that you have today is the one that creates the manifestations of tomorrow. So whatever is happening to you today is the manifestation of your alignment, of your sentiments, of your deeds, thoughts, and so forth in the past. So how can you align yourself to a future in which you can be more congruent and more true to yourself, where you can express who you truly are, what you truly need, what you truly want in life, without having to be distracted by seeing yourself through the eyes of others, by thinking too much about what other people think of you, or by being afraid that you will fail. You will only fail if you never try. Okay? So from my perspective, one of the big things in regards to learning how to become more congruent and translating this into our practical 3D lives is to look at our compromises. Where have we been doing too many compromises? Where are we not true with what we're doing? Where we have these like sort of secret negative sentiments, and also even sometimes anger or even thoughts or feelings of revenge, like the secret revenge. And even if this is it comes to you in a form of a sort of depression, where you feel really low, and then you think about all the wrongdoings and the injustice that was done to you. Those things are the things that make you fail, guys. Those are our ego sabotage mechanisms, and victimhood is a big one. But I'm not here to talk about victimhood this week, because I don't think this is going to be in the foreground. And the foreground is going to be like, how can you actually deal with some of these compromises that you've done in the past that do not, or that do no longer serve you. All right, and I just want to mention a few things here. Relationships is a big one still. A lot of people are in relationships for other reasons than they say, and not so much because they're deceiving the other person, but more so because they're not really clear about what they truly want. And so my suggestion is that you, if you are in a critical time in your relationship, if you have a partner, then use this time now here, this following week, to sit together and renegotiate. Come up with common goals. Where do you both want to be? Where can you see yourself? And what do you need to do in order to get there? Do you maybe have to change your diet? Do you maybe have to change your lifestyle? Perhaps you need to change your job. That's been coming in for a lot of you guys too. Or you just need to change where you live. Maybe the place that you live is no longer conducive for your goals. And this doesn't mean that the people that you've been with so far, or the places that you've been in are no good or bad. It just means that they're no longer conducive, that they do not provide you the best conditions for unfolding your highest potential. And then, of course, there's financial decisions, and you know me, I occasionally talk about some of the economic stuff. So stuff is still cooking, guys. Keep a tight eye on it. Buy silver if you feel like precious metals are the only thing that can hedge a financial crisis. Personally, I recommend people to do three things. To buy things that, if they have a lot of money, to buy things that have intrinsic value, such as precious metals, and silver would probably be the better choice. To invest a part in cryptocurrencies, and perhaps even in those technologies or those companies that are up and rising there in this cryptocurrency ecosystem. There are some very, very cool new technologies developing there, and for some of these, not all of them, it's way too many now, and it's still Wild West, so I said, stay calm. But if you know the deal, some of these companies are going to be our future big corporations, and many of them have one thing in common. Not all of them, but many of them have one thing in common. especially those who work in the field of decentralized data, is to create an ecosystem that does not favor monopolization, that does not favor, like say, one company or one industry owning all the data, that favor open source and our sovereignty here as the people who own data. All right, so just here as a little tip. And the third thing that I recommend to people who have money to invest is to invest in companies, in communities. I want to say communities, because this is more so where this is going. If you want to invest money into companies and want to like bet on certain things, then use cryptocurrency, ICO companies. But if you want to follow your heart and really support people who are doing phenomenal things, co-ops, urban farming companies or farms, people who are trying to build new infrastructure, anything that can increase infrastructure, anything that can increase our self-sufficiency and decrease our dependency. All right, those things are empowering, those things are true. And they usually have a higher integrity level than, say, classic corporations. So a lot of the old system is dying away, and we see this everywhere, and this is not going to happen overnight. This isn't really something that is only been going on for a couple of weeks. It's been going on for 20, 30 years. And there is an expiration date on a lot of that. So that's as far as like financial security, because I know this will come up for a lot of you guys. Health issues. Since we're going to be dealing with a lot of chronic issues and resistances in the physical this week, it'd be a good idea to go into things that help to prevent. All right, so and you've heard me say this many times before. Of course, light exercise, stretching and so forth, changing your diet to a higher vibratory diet that supports this increased vibratory rate going through your physical, okay, that prepares and allows your body to hold more of that, but also in regards to emotional and mental health, to just have a more clear communication and letting go of assumptions and letting go of all these sort of the mental circus. All right, the things that we think are going to happen, the things that we project into the future. If you can let go of this and instead say, okay, I have concerns, so here are my concerns, and how should we address them? If you're not in a relationship, and if this is a conversation that you're having with yourself, then try to really become clear of whether or not the work that you're doing, or the way you're making your money, or the way you're living your life in regards to your friends and the community that you live in is really conducive for you, if it's really supportive for you. And I said this before, maybe if you have a tendency to isolate a bit, which came out really strong last week, go do something new. Sign up for a community college course or something, or like volunteer somewhere. Make sure that you are not alone, physically alone, that you have somewhat of a like-minded support group. Here at transCODES, we provide this with our forum community, which is free for everyone. We have certain sections that are not free. That's because we have different programs, and we do specific sessions and modalities there that we can only share with those who are in the program. But the forum community is free, and finding places where you can learn how to communicate about these things, your energetic sensitivity, these things that we talked about here in the beginning, more openly. The energetic sensitives and empaths energy barometer for next week is going to go just slightly into the orange again. It's going to relax just a little bit, but only to really prepare for something, I don't want to scare you, but something really impacting coming up in the first week of September. All right, so, get your stuff together now. Really have a little bit of a clear direction. It's okay to say, I want to learn how to live in the flow. But when you only live in the flow, and this would be a sort of towards too much feminine energies, then you never get anything done. And then you will constantly be revisited by these feelings of stagnation and these feelings of regress. All right. So at some point you got to do action. And the only way to tell when it's the right thing to do something or to say the right thing comes through the connection from within, comes through your inner guidance. And you've heard me say this 100 million times. You can only hear your inner guidance if you know how to silence down all that chatter, all that emotional and mental chatter inside of you, and even the physical one if you bombard it with the physical pain. So learn how to silence. There's power in your silence. I can't even tell you how many times I've said to people, calm down, slow down this week. Slow down. All the way to learning how to slow down your heart rate. We practice this here at transCODES, amongst many other energy work modalities, and helping you to learn how to deal with your energetic sensitivity. But anyway, so please don't resist. The main symptoms for next week, 5th chakra, throat, neck, shoulders, and sinuses. Maybe some of you also ears, because our 6th chakra is still being bombarded. All right, so everything here. All right, and of course, some of you who have been absorbing a lot of emotional energies, I saw this here in the True Self session that we had a couple of days ago. You need to clear your emotions. You need to learn how to do emotional integration work, how to learn these parts of you that you can't fully love, and that you often see reflected in others. We're very quick sometimes on blaming others on our emotional stuff or absorbing energies. All right, so yes, sore neck, that's one of the things. Also, tightness in the jaw. And every time you have this tightness here, especially in the jaw, this has a lot to do with control. So not letting go of control. So when I say, don't be just in the flow, also follow up with actions, make a plan, have somewhat of a perspective so that you know which direction to take. And on the other hand, I say, don't control too much. What I'm talking about really is this inner balance between masculine and feminine energies that we all want to embrace, okay? And this is one of the collective karmic tasks that we all have. But again, very often here in these times in the summertime, it's about learning how to embrace the masculine, how to embrace the action, the making a plan, the directiveness, but without overpowering, without controlling too much, without neglecting our inner guidance. All right, so it's that balance here. And this week it's really important so that we are well prepared. What can help us really with this process is to go into nature. I've said this on many occasions. And the True Self session that we had here a couple of days ago, which I'm going to publish the session report for that session for everyone, probably as part of the energy report. It was very, very beautiful, and it showed us how this planet, okay, as the sort of archetypal representation of femininity, is not helpless. Gaia does not need our help. Of course we're here and we're wrecking our environment and doing a lot of harm. But her self-corrective energies are way beyond anything, all right, that we can imagine. The one thing, though, that most people here on the spiritual journey haven't really figured out yet is that you have these self-corrective energies in you too. And you've got to learn how to trust that. Don't ever stand in the way of a mother protecting her children. Because there's an enormous power there. Okay, so whether you're male or female, that's the potential you want to tap in. And in order to tap into that, you need to really learn how to do the balance between your inner masculine and feminine. So I want to give you a heads up here. It's going to get a little quieter, but not anywhere calm or anywhere, take a week off or anything. Stay tuned. Don't go into depression, anxiety, thinking that it's just you, okay? Please comment here in the text section. Send me emails. Go to our forum. Ask questions, all right? It helps to talk about it. Fifth chakra is our expression, is our communication. We need to learn how to talk about these things. And guess what? As we're talking about them, we are creating a community. And this is what's empowering. This is what creates the right conditions for us to unfold this potential. The Grace Manifestation Marathon is still going on right now. I'm a bit busy, so all the written work right now is taking place in the forum. If you just want to know how we work, if you want to get a feeling for this, just go in the forum. Set up your free forum user and read a little bit about this. Because it's all semi-public there. And then one more thing before I let you go. We have 2 spots for our Heart Warrior program. This is a very sought-after, intense personal energy training program, and we had to close for new applicants because we can only work with so many people in this intense schedule. It's very personal. It's a lot of our time in there, and so we have 2 openings starting September. So for September, October, November, this is your chance if you've ever thought about joining the Heart Warriors. We also have 1 spot left for our highest level of energy healing training, of energy healer training, the energy clearing. If you know what this is, if you don't know what this is right now, then just forget about it. But if you know what this is, it's our level 4 training, the highest level of energy healer training that we offer here at transCODES, only once a year, and we have 1 spot left. I will put this on the front page for you so it's easier to find this on transcodes.com. All right. Well, other than this, I wish you a wonderful last week of August. And, if you don't know where to start with, like, making a plan or making a direction, start journaling and maybe come up with, some people do well with vision boards. I don't, but some people do really well with creating a vision board and just sort of writing it out, or even drawing pictures of the things that you can see in your own future. But write things down. Maybe if you're a more structured person, sort of in like 2 columns, what I feel is very conducive for my energy, what's very supportive, what helps me to be and stay true to myself. And on the other column, things that you have already identified that are not conducive for you, or people, places that are not conducive for you. And then start looking at this and pick maybe 1 thing for the next week and work on that. All right. Well, I'm hoping that this was enough heads up for you. Again, ask questions in the commentary. I have to go now, but I want to thank you for your attention, for being here, and for supporting me. Like us here on Facebook, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We have, I almost forgot, a very exciting new program coming up, Heart Warriors Radio. It's an iTunes radio show with Jeff and I and Ryan McCormick from Outer Limits Radio. So stay tuned for this, and you will most likely get those shows, those weekly shows in YouTube as well as podcast. All right, so keep supporting us and come to our sessions. All right. Bye-bye, everybody.